A very good day to you people. My name is Mohit and today I'm going to show you how to make div tags and how to control them using the not so discussed, the not so very common CSS properties. Let's see how we can do that. Let's start, let's create a new HTML document. On the welcome screen I click on the new HTML document. Next what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a div tag, guys. I'm going to say insert layout objects div tag. Okay, there are certain options here which say at insertion point, after start of tag, or before end of tag. There are no tags at the moment, so the only option that's most feasible and the most correct option should be at insertion point. That's here tucked in the corner. Alright, so I'm going to call the first div as the main div. Alright, I'm going to give the name in the ID field, and then I'm going to click on this button, which is the new CSS rule button. Guys, also notice that I'm in the classic view. I'm a big fan of this view, classic view. Okay, so the name already has been chosen for the div tag, for the ID div, which is main div, and I'm going to say OK once again. Next, guys, what I'm going to do is Dreamweaver is prompting me to feed in or input the various CSS properties that I want attached to the main ID, div of the type ID. Okay, so the various CSS properties are like this. The various CSS rules go like this. The first thing that I want to do is I want the background color to be a darkish gray. Okay, so that we can clearly make out what is happening, where it is happening. I would also want to give it a size. Let's say I'll keep the width to 600 and the height to 200. Okay. Moreover, I would want my div to be centered on the page, on the monitor. So how can I do that? It's very easy, guys. All you need to do is you need to go inside the margin section, say the right margin, set the right margin to be auto, and also set the left margin to an auto. I think I'm done. Let's click on OK and OK once again, and here is the div on your screen, guys. I will remove this text that is no longer needed. Let me preview this document in my browser Firefox. Before that I need to change it. I'm going to call it test. I'm going to save it. And yes, I forgot to mention, guys, I had already defined the site. I'm expecting, I suppose, guys, you already know how to define a site. So this is the main div, and it's centered because the left and the right margins were set to auto. Very good. Next, guys, what I plan to do here is I want to make two more divs inside this div. I want the main div to be like a wrapper or an envelope, and I want two children divs to sit inside the main div. Okay, the main div is 600 pixels. I want the children divs to be 300 pixels each. Let's get going. I'm going to say insert layer objects div tag. Add insertion point is fine. That's because if you see in the code area or the code view, guys, the cursor is right inside the div. Then I'm going to call it left div. It's an appropriate name. I'm going to click on the button, and then I'm going to say OK. Then I'm going to go ahead and give the rules for the left div. Okay, first things first, change the background color to a very light peach color, I suppose. Go to the box area and let's give it a width of 300, half of 600. The main parent div is 600 and this is half of it. The height I will go with 200, the same height. Alright, and I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to say OK once again. Very good. So that's taken the left half. Not a problem at all. Next, guys, I want to make sure that my cursor is outside the left div. Okay, and I'm going to place one more div tag here, one more div here, and I'm going to call it right div. Let's get going. So insert layer objects div tag right div. Click on the new CSS rule button, say OK. Change the background color once again. I'm really sorry, guys. And go to the box area, width 300, half of the parent div, and the height the same as the parent div, the main div 200. I'm gonna say OK and OK once again. Do you see the problem here, guys? Let me show you a preview in the browser. So do you see that the left div is on top of the right div and the main div is behind the left div? Guys, this is what usually happens by their very nature. One div would not allow the other div to sit beside it. It does not allow that. We have to make certain changes. Let's see what are those changes. Let me first remove this text and let me fetch the left div, which is under CSS styles tab. I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to go to the box category. I'm going to set the flow to left and say OK. And then I'm going to go inside the, let me take a published preview first. A preview in the browser first. I keep calling it published preview because I'm so much used to Flash these days. Do you see, guys, what happened here? One div has gone under the other one. Okay, the right div is actually sitting below the left div. It's not vanished. It has not vanished actually. And to bring it up, I need to go to the category box once again and float the right div right and say OK. Hey, presto, there it is. So guys, this is how you actually use the left float and the right float properties and distribute the divs inside the main parent div. All very good. Okay, now I'm going to go to the code view and I'm going to type some text here. I'm going to show you few more properties, few more uncommon properties that are not used very often. I'm going to type some text here. This is, I beg your pardon, all caps on. This is the left div. And then I'm going to copy paste this bit, and I'm going to paste it several times. So Control C, Control V several times. Okay. I'm going to hit the refresh button and see, guys, what happens. Let me show you a preview in Firefox, my preferred browser. Do you see what happens? The div is not able to control the overflow. The text actually overflows beyond the bounds or the boundaries. Now that's not desired. How can I actually control that? Not at all difficult, guys. I'm going to go to the left div under the CSS styles tab. I'm going to double click there. Then I'm going to go in the positioning category and I'm going to set the position to the overflow to hidden, and I'm going to say OK. You see that, guys? The overflow gets hidden. Very good. Wonderful. Okay. Now I'm going to make sure that my cursor is positioned inside the right div by checking in the code view, and as you can see, it's blinking right there in the right div. Okay, I'm going to type some more text here. So I'm going to say this is the right div. A copy and a paste once again, guys. Control C, Control V several times. Refresh. Again, guys, if you notice, it's overflowing. So I'll follow the same routine. Double click on a right div. Go to the positioning category. This time I'm going to set the overflow to scroll and say apply and say OK. And let's see what is the difference. You see that, guys, I get a scroller now. Okay, let me get back to Dreamweaver, and now let me change the properties. I can change the properties by double clicking here. There's a window down below. That's also one place I can change the properties from. So I'm going to select the overflow property, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to auto this time, and then I'm going to say save. And then let's take a preview in Firefox. Guys, it's more or less the same thing except okay. So all very good. What else? Okay, let me show you one more property. I'm going back to the left div, this div, and double clicking there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the positioning category once again, and I'm going to say visible hidden, and I'm going to say OK, and let's take up preview in Firefox once again. Voila, vanished, it's gone. Okay, since it's gone invisible, does it actually mean that it's left its place and this space is empty, the gray space is empty? Maybe it is, maybe it is not. Let's check that. I'm going to go to Dreamweaver, and this time let me try to float this thing left. Let's see what happens. So instead of saying right, I'm going to say left, and let me take a preview in Firefox. It does not go left. Probably that means that although the left div is invisible, it's still there. It's not left its place. That's the reason why the right div cannot be floated left. All very good. Okay, I'm going to go back to the left div now, and I'm going to set the visibility back to nothing. Nothing means it's visible. I'm going to say OK now. Alright, and I'm going to play a trick now. Let me go back to the left div, go to the block section, and this time I'm going to set the display to none. Now whether you set the display to none or whether you set the visibility to hidden, it's almost the same thing, but not quite. There's a difference, there's a subtle difference, and we'll see that very soon, guys. I'm going to say OK. And the moment I say OK, do you see that the right div is now displaced from its position and has shifted to the left? Let me show you the preview in Firefox. Oh, wonderful. Which means that when you set the display to none, the div will actually not only vanish but also leave its place. The space gets void and then gets filled up. Very nice. So that's the difference between visibility hidden and block display none. Alright, what else do we have to learn today? There's more to come, guys. Let's get back to Dreamweaver. I'm going to talk about the pre CSS property. Let me get inside the right div by double clicking on the right div, and then I'm going to go down to the block section. I'm going to set the white space to pre and say apply and say OK. Let's see whether it makes any difference. The first difference that we notice, guys, is that it does not wrap. Now the div does not wrap itself. Okay, but is that the only difference? No, that is not the only difference. There's one more difference, guys. When you set the property pre means preserve the white space. If you notice here, the properties here says the white space has been set to pre. It will now preserve the white space, which means if I hit enter anywhere inside the div tag, or if I use the spacebar, or even if I use the tab, the spaces would be preserved. So let me show you an example. Let me go to the code view, and I'm going to hit enter at several places. I'll insert one enter here, and let me put a tab here. Okay, twice I hit the tab here, and let me say refresh, and let me take a preview in Firefox once again. Guys, notice there was an enter hit out here. Okay, and there was yet another enter hit out here. And obviously you can see that it does not wrap itself. Oh, very good. So we are learning more and more about some uncommonly used CSS properties. Okay. Also, if you notice, guys, under this panel, properties for right div, if I set the pre to inherit, let's take a preview in Firefox. Nothing happens. That's because inherit means inherited from the parent div, the main div. And the main div, guys, is set to normal. It's not set to anything, basically set to normal. If the parent div or the main div was set to, and I'm not going to show it, guys, you can try it yourself, was set to white space pre, it would have inherited that property. Okay, all very good. What else, guys? All the divs that we create, for example, I created the main div. It's actually a static div. Okay, whether I mention anything in the positioning category or not, it still means that it's a static div. I'm putting it to static now, and you can see that it does not make a difference. That's because the default is static, whether it's mentioned or not. But I can change it to, let's say, under the position category, I have absolute positioned divs, we have the fixed divs, we have the relative divs, and we have the static divs. It already is a static div. Let's see what is a fixed div. I'm going to set it to fixed now. Okay, and my aim here will be to tuck this div to the left top corner, and if I need to do that, I need to make the div fixed, right? So let's say I want the left to be set to 0 pixels and the top to be set to 0 pixels. I'm going to say okay. Now this should now tuck the div to the left top corner, guys, as you can see. Okay, two very important CSS properties that we haven't discussed yet. Let me close up the browser window, go back to Dreamweaver, and let's check them out one by one. We'll talk about the margin first. Let me then first go to the main div, double click there, go to the box category, and let's say I will first reset the positioning or the position of the div tag. I'll make it static once again. Okay, only then can I show you how the margins and the padding work properly. Let me first reset it back to the default, which is static. I'm going to say okay. Let me quickly show you the published preview. Okay, so it's come back in the center now. Going back to Dreamweaver, closing up this browser window, and then let me go back to the box category, and then let's say I want the top margin to be up plus 100, and say okay. See, it's shifted down. The main div along with the children div, left and the right div, have shifted down. Let me show you a published preview. Indeed they have. Let me close up the browser, go back to Dreamweaver. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this margin top from a positive 100 to a negative 100 and see what happens. You'll not be able to make out this thing in Dreamweaver very well. For that I'll need to take up a preview in Firefox. I'll save the changes, and then do you see, guys, that it's actually gone outside the browser? Partly it's been shaved off. The head has been cut off, kind of. So the top has been destroyed. It's actually gone in. Very nice. So this is how you can actually sometimes use it to your own benefit. There may be situations where you might need to put it in the negative. Okay. All right. So let me reset it back to 0, and then let's talk about the right div now. Let me double click on the right div under CSS tab. We are going to talk about the padding now. Let me go to the box category. Let me give it a padding of 10 pixels all around. And when I say all around, it means that I want the top, the right, the bottom, the left padding to be 10 pixels each. Okay, the moment you click on this checkbox and give a number out here, it implies that it should be applied to all the 4 sides. What is padding, guys, and what is margin? Margin creates a space outside the div tag, and padding will create it inside the div tag. Let's say OK, and we'll soon see. Let me take up a preview in Firefox. I'll save the changes. Guys, can you see that? Maybe 10 pixels is not enough to show you. Let me increase the size. Let me make it let's say 20. Okay, and let's take a preview in Firefox now. Guys, can you see that there's a space created all around except the bottom? That's because it is overflowing. Okay, except the bottom. If the text was not overflowing, you would see 20 pixels of space here too. So all around the space has come. That's wonderful. Okay. So guys, I hope you like this tutorial, and please comment, please subscribe. I love to see them both, whether the comment is negative or positive. Please also visit my website www.adobecs5.in. It's got a lot of useful stuff, a lot of goodies that you can use, a lot of galleries, picture galleries made in Flash as well, and in Dreamweaver, of course. A lot of useful stuff out there. So I'll see you next time, guys, with yet another tutorial in either Flash or Dreamweaver CS5 or 5.5. Ciao, bye bye.